We've talked about how building a culture requires developing shared habits, rituals, and values within the classroom. So in order to cultivate the culture that we want, we have to have some very strong systems and rituals in place to support that. And these will happen in a couple of ways. You're going to have systems and rituals that are a part of your daily routine. You have transitions and lunchtime and recess and some of these things that are the day-to-day systems that help the classroom stay running. And then there's going to be the less frequent rituals that occur in the life of a classroom or a school. There may be a fall picnic. There might be a particular holiday celebration or something that happens. So there's two different ways we're going to approach these systems and rituals in the classroom. As you're building systems, they need to be in place to serve and scaffold the children. So always we're going to make sure that the systems for how the classroom functions are there for the children, less for the adults. Okay? And if a system is no longer working for the classroom, then you need to reevaluate it or change it or get rid of it. We don't keep systems in place just because they've always been there. And as your classroom grows and changes, your systems may shift because you may find what you planned didn't work or the children have changed, and so you're going to change the system. As you build systems in your classroom, you want to be sure that you're really, really consistent in those systems, in enforcing those systems, in maintaining those systems. But you also need to be really firm, also flexible in that. So I had a child in the classroom next door to me years ago whose classroom had a system of, each child got one pencil a month. And when you lost the pencil, you had to find one. You had to find it. You had to learn how to, keep track of your pencil. Now, this is a lower elementary classroom, so we all know how many children lose their pencils in a given day. And we also know how, we want the children to learn the value of that pencil, and we don't want to just perpetually lose pencils right and left. So, the reason for the system was reasonable, to help children really take care of their pencil. Well, this one child couldn't find her pencil one day, and her guide said, well, you have to find it, or you have to borrow a pencil from someone else. So she spent that day trying to find her pencil, periodically borrowing a pencil from a friend. Day 2, still couldn't find her pencil. Struggled to get any work done because of this. Day 3, she comes into the office in tears. I just want to work and I can't find a pencil. The only pencil I can find is, this other guy's pencil who he chews on his all the time. Now, this is where the system has become a problem. You have a child who wants to work and who has legitimately lost her pencil and can't successfully do her work. It's not teaching her responsibility to, sort of punish her for losing her pencil and preventing her from working. So while the system made sense and the guide was attempting to be consistent with it, the impact was unreasonable. This is the time when you want to be flexible and say, hey, you lost your pencil. Here, I'll give you another one. How are you going to try to keep track of it this time? Rather than, getting in the way of a child's work and perhaps helping this other child who didn't really want to work, by giving, he could give her his pencil. None of these things made sense or work for the child. So we want to be sure as we're building systems, we're consistent with them, that they have good reasons, but then we're also flexible when, someone's crying about not being able to work without their pencil. At the beginning of the year, you're going to have to take a lot of extra time to build all these systems in place. You're going to have, every transition is going to take longer. Every time you need to show children what the system is for arriving, for getting ready to go to recess. All of these systems are just going to take time to put into place, and that's a lot of how the first few weeks of school are spent, helping children understand the systems of the classroom so that it can then be self-sustaining. So we'll talk about options for these different systems and things you need to consider as you're building systems for your classroom.